Hello, this is First Fire Non-Assault Move. Welcome back to the 62nd episode in the War in the East series. Let's get a situation report. It's now the first week of June. We last left off on the 27th of April. It's been five-ish turns, 4 or 5 turns, all through May, the first week of April, all through May, and the first week of June. The weather was a bit schizophrenic. There was a combination of mud in each of these Soviet zones, whether it was 2 out of 3 or 3 for 3 or 1 out of 3. It really put a damper on any significant offensive operations. However, that wasn't a big deal since we are still in the midst of our great migration of forces from Army Group North to Army Group South and Southern Army Group Center. What stands out here with Army Group North is we have now positioned a Panzer Corps. Ooh, who did we leave up here? Yeah, 3rd Panzer Corps has a bridge hood over the. Gotta get used to these rivers again. Chagudoshka River. And we're not very far from the coastline, or at least reaching this demarcation line, the Finnish no attack line, where we will cut off these a small sample size of the Soviet front here. The target is to strike due north and get over another river here, but we'll probably attack a little bit north and east. We also have the let me guess here, the 56th Panzer Corps. I don't think they're going to stick around. Actually, I'm certain they're not going to stick around. We're just going to leave one Panzer Corps here to conduct offensive operations with Army Group North, just to cut off these forces here and establish a front north to south. Leningrad. What's been interesting, if you remember, I was able to attack over this river or bay. I don't know the name of this water body, but we were able to attack into each of these hexes at one point. Even when there was clear weather over the past couple of turns here in this Soviet zone, I was not able to attack, and our own divisions were perfectly rested. I don't know why I was able to attack then and not now. I don't think it was because the river was frozen. That's the only thing I can think of. Anyhow, I am not able to conduct any attacks. I wouldn't. What? Made a liar out of me. Okay, now we can. Well, I don't know what to make sense of that. Because of that, we weren't able to attack. I was thinking of doing that at least one time when there was clear weather here, just to reduce Soviets' fort levels and shoot into their supply. I don't know how much supply they're getting each week out of Leningrad. They seem to be well supplied. They all have these little green bars, and we still have supplies as an indicator here. Anyway, we'll press the fight into Leningrad when we can, when the weather clears, and push here to this demarcation line. All right. I broke down and actually moved almost 2 full Panzer Corps overland, burning through precious fuel reserves. It was just taking too long. I could only get 2 full Panzer divisions at a time with rail capacity, and then I'd have left over enough for an infantry division here or there and maneuvering some security forces around the map to chase partisans. So I broke down and I moved these Panzer divisions down. Yeah. They actually got quite a ways. They were way up here, but I moved overland and I watched. it's so it's so painful. 1% fuel now. But they're they're on the rail, and our supply situation is very robust. I imagine they'll be at least up to 50%, maybe more, but they're still going to burn fuel. I'll probably pluck 1 or 2 onto the rails and send them down into these area of operations, but most likely I'm just going to continue moving them down because it's taking too long. We're already into June. It is 1944, not much of a war left. All right, so what have we built up? As the weeks progressed, and as the weather changed, and as the Soviets shuffled about their concentration here, we've finally ended up with our Schwerpunkt locations. That is going to be right here, breaking out against this lightly defended area. And then south here in this area, we have already established a breakthrough here. And the first shipping op is going to be, hopefully, encircling these strong Soviet formations. A lot of tanks and mechanized forces are in this grouping. Right there, mechanized, a tank corps. So a small encirclement to start off. I think we will be able to achieve that handily if the Soviets don't get wind of our plans, which sometimes, if we start peeking past their front and we have an opening, the Soviets will get wind of our plans and start to backpedal at an alarming rate. They're very adroit at retreating out of harm's way, as we've seen in the past. Sometimes they stubbornly stay put. We're leaving this very lightly defended, so maybe they want to use their armored forces and make some localized attacks. Let's welcome them to do that. So that would be the first encirclement. We're not going to have. I decided to pull all German forces out of the Hungarian sector here because it was diluting my panzer forces. I was thinking of breaking out up here as well and encircling this group, but we may return to that. But right now, it's here, and then down here where we have a bridgehead over. Oh gosh, I get it mixed up. The Don and the Donets. Over the Donets. Yes? How can I not know that? Yes. Over the Donets. And we finally have a Panzer Corps headquarters in this area. We had these reinforcements here, the 11th SS Panzer Grenadier Division and the Fuhrer Panzer Grenadier Division. They arrived a while back and they slowly made it along the rails because we are prioritizing the rail system over them, but now they are in action and they are under the command of 3rd SS Panzer Corps. We're going to get another one or two, maybe three Panzer divisions in this area to probably a full complement of two Panzer Corps. This tiny encirclement has stood this way for I think 3 or 4 turns now. One turn there was clear weather and they held out. Yes, they held out. And the other turns it's been mud, so we haven't continued attacks. I wanted to show this before I start executing attacks so you can get an idea of where we are going to attack from. So when the front hopefully changes dramatically in the Germans' favor, you know where these attacks originated from and what we had planned. So plan, encircle these forces, strike east towards Saratov, Stalingrad, and then swing. And then, oh yes, we want to encircle this little pocket here, get a little handful of Soviet divisions out of the way, off the front, into German prison camps. Yeah, our Schwerpunkt areas, our plans, and I am going to go. Oh, yes, I'll point out that I have reassigned. There was a lot of reassignment. We're down to 169 admin points. That is due to reassigning Corps headquarters, a number of them. I did find out during the course of these reassignments that we have lost the second SS Panzer Army. We still have the 1st, 3rd, and 4th. I think the 2nd Panzer Army was exchanged or withdrawn, and now we have Army Group South Ukraine and Army Group North Ukraine as stand-ins. Yeah, because if we look at the order of battle, There's a south and a north Ukraine. There's no longer even an army group south. So that's an interesting change in the army order of battle hierarchy. Nonetheless, we'll crack on, even though we don't have a. We're missing a Panzer army. All right. So yeah, what we did also is we moved a lot of Army Group centers in Army Group North. Well, Army Group North didn't have that many. We moved a bunch of aircraft down to eventually settle in and around this vicinity to support the offensive operations because if you look at it, they were just sitting right around here where there's nothing happening. Yeah, and then you have to fly all the way up here where stuff is happening and all the way down here where stuff is about to happen. So we are reallocating our air forces as well. And because of the movements of our forces that are already on the front lines, these reinforcements are not moving east. All right, I still have to. No. There's a couple partisans that I couldn't get to. What I do now is I just rail around a small security regiment, keep a couple on the rails, and we just, wherever the Soviet partisans are threatening a rail line, we just move up adjacent while we're on the rail, click off the rail, and it will send the partisans fleeing. All right, I will get to ending this turn, and I'll be back with the results of hopefully clear weather across all three Soviet zones and the commencement of the spring, well, and now it's summer, German offensive. I'll be back. All right, I'm back. Let's get a sit rep. We'll start with Army Group North. We made some attacks into Leningrad. Unsuccessful, to say the least. The Soviets are not budging. Their fort levels are barely dropping. It may be that Leningrad will be the sole survivors of the war in the East, at least until Stavka surrenders. And yeah, there's really no easy way to attack Leningrad. We could, in theory, I don't know if we can cross this demarcation line, march north, come over and attack from this axis of advance. Maybe we could do that. I don't know. But right now, I'm seriously considering just pulling out all the forces in and around Leningrad and just put a screening force there. Maybe bait them with just regiments and have them attack and push out of Leningrad and then counterattack. Maybe we'll try that. I don't know. We didn't have much success punching north to reach this finish line. Soviets held out. We did get a bridgehead over this river here. And we're massing up our infantry, so next turn I think we'll have greater success. Maybe not reach our objective here, but at least within the next couple of weeks we shall have achieved that. To help out, we did commit the 56th Panzer Corps to assist in that operation. Just having one Panzer Corps wasn't cutting it, and we did strip a lot of infantry corps out of Army Group North's area of operations. So we want to retain some combat power and not, dibble dabble trying to reach the Finns. All right, let's move down. Army all along this front. There's no change, none whatsoever. Just holding in place. We were forced to reinforce this line in and around Yaroslavl. Yes, Yaroslavl. Soviets are pressing, beating up on our regiments, and they're gaining a little bit of ground. So we strengthened this front with a couple of infantry divisions. We're going to have to do some reassignments with our divisions and our corps headquarters, which we'll do. And that is that in this area. Mostly all there is to talk about. And as we move down, again, just holding the line. So let's start talking about where we did our ops. All right. Right off the bat, let's talk about how we mentioned there was a line, a concentration of guards, tank corps, and mechanized corps. Significant, actually. all lined up here, and we wanted to encircle them. Well, there was a turn of mud. Uh, oh no, there wasn't a turn of mud. When when did I? Oh, jeez, I gotta remember what I did with the beginning of this episode. Anyways, as you can see, they have vanished into thin air. We did a lot of recon, trying to find them, and they weren't there. So we didn't have a chance to encircle them. However, we did break out in a number of areas. We'll scan out here from right about here, where we have a breakout, and there's a Soviet line, defensive line, all the way to move all the way up here to about right here, where we have another encirclement. It's about 250 miles. We have ripped open a 250-mile, I wouldn't say a hole, but we've torn to shreds 250 miles of the Soviets' front. This encirclement we were able to achieve will wipe these Soviet forces out. That will take them off the table. And likewise, this was kind of a target of opportunity. As we were breaking out and we had forces available, we swung around a Panzer Corps just to close the door on this group here, and that's great. Because, as you can see here, there are no Soviet operational reserves and no strategic reserves to be found. Where did all those Guards tank corps go? My only guess is that some maybe went on the rails and were railed out of there, or they distributed themselves across the front to the north and to the south. Otherwise, they're really not anywhere to be seen. Here's one tank corps, but where are the rest of them? It's baffling. There are no Soviet operational reserves. While we were breaking out here in our forwardmost troops, there was larger groupings of Soviet airfields here. We managed to scramble, a dozen at least, and captured a lot of fuel and supplies. So it's not looking too bad. The only bummer was really encircling all those tank corps. But I think we're going to get a good amount of Soviets here. I think there's about close to 30, 20, high 20s in this encirclement, which is not small change. It's pretty good compared to our other previous encirclements. It's kind of small change, but at this point in the war, there aren't really that great Soviet concentrations to develop these massive encirclements any longer, and that's great. That is great. And then we have this encirclement, probably, I don't know, 6 to 8 ish. So a nice opening to the German summer offensive. I'll point out this assemblage of the German Luftwaffe. We took a lot of these aircraft from Army Group Center and Army Group North, and now they're in this area of operations. We did some reassignments to make sure they're all in good command and control, and hopefully they'll get their own supply levels up and be effective in supporting future offensive operations. What do we do next? All right, obviously we want Stalingrad and we want Saratov. And if we pan out once more, once we've taken Saratov and Stalingrad, there'll be this bulge here. We're going to turn south and east and try and take Maikop. That is the next major operation we'll plan after we finish up these initial stages of the offensive. And Moscow Leningrad, I keep saying Moscow. Leningrad, we may not bother with for the rest of the war. We'll see. If we have a good anchor here at Saratov, we could look to break out in and around this area, or maybe further south in this area, and get another large encirclement, or a large swath of the Soviets' front encircled, just to push further east. What's it all going to look like? Well, we'll be holding Saratov along the Don here. No, the Volga, actually. Along the Volga, and then the Don. We'll hold this front that is probably going to be the high water mark of the rest of 1944. Where we go from there, I'm not too sure. We'll have to see what the front looks like, what the Soviet dispositions look like, what the weather's going to be looking like, because we'll be moving into fall sooner than later. Kind of, it's not really a late start. It's still only mid-June. I would have liked to start earlier in June and later in May, but mud kept cropping up throughout the Soviet zones. All right, I hope you enjoyed this episode. The summer offensive finally started, and we've had some really significant territorial advances and some small encirclements. I thank you for watching. This is First Fire, non-assault move out.